Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I want to point out that I don't have any promos or any ads or things like that in the first part of the program. If we have extra time, I'll stick them on at the end. And our topic today is October 15th, digital currency. Is that the date, on about or around that date, that we get a new currency system? At least one person says yes. And there's several other people that are saying some pretty scary things. That might be true. White House insider Buck Sexton, Trump's next move will shock the world. Now, I might read this twice because what he says here is earth-shaking, if in fact it's true. And this comes from Gateway Pundit, and they are a pretty reputable source, so you got to take it. Okay. He says, I just returned from a private interview at the Biltmore Hotel. See, I have had direct access to top-level defense and national security officials such as Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio, and others, which is why I was recently invited to sit down meeting with President Trump and Vice President Vance inside the West Wing of the White House. It's not about tariffs, crypto, or the Fed, or anything else you're hearing about from the normal mainstream media. It's about a radical move I believe Trump is going to make as soon as October the 15th. Now, let me say something about that date. Wouldn't be the first time that we've heard something happen and it didn't happen on that date. And frankly, like you, I get tired of all of these warnings that never come to pass. But I think that's the wrong attitude. I think we should be happy some of the bad things we've been warned of have not come, okay? So I don't know that it's going to happen October 15th, but I do think that I have a pretty good guess on what it is, which I can talk about. And I have a pretty good guess that it's going to happen before the end of this year, but that is just a guess. God has not told me. Now, let's go back. It's about a radical move that I believe Trump is going to make as soon as October the 15th, one that could shock the world. Because I believe it could single-handedly reshape the global order. Look at what he is saying. This is some of the most shocking information I've ever seen. I'll read it again. I believe it could single-handedly reshape the global order, dramatically increase U.S. power, and trigger a massive American market boom. That's not bad news, that's good news. An American market boom, the likes of which we haven't seen in 75 years. What is it? President Trump himself said, this is all about one thing, igniting what he calls, look carefully, the most extraordinary boom the world has ever seen. Now, do I know what it is? No, I do not. I was not in that room. So I am going to guess. Now, it's not based upon my intellect because my intellect wouldn't get us out the door. But based upon all of the prophecies that we've been given, what is the most likely prophecy that's going to fit in there? Now, let's go back and read it again. Ask yourself, what prophecy, what's the most likely prophecy that this could be talking about? White House insider Buck Sexton, Trump's next move will shock the world. I just returned from a private interview at the Biltmore Hotel with Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio, and President Trump, and Vice President Vance. It's not about tariffs, crypto, or the Fed. It's about a radical move I believe Trump is going to make as soon as October 15th, and it could what could that be? Single-handedly reshape the global order, dramatically increase U.S. power, and trigger a massive American market boom. Boom, that's up. The likes of which we've not seen in 75 years, the most extraordinary boom the world has ever seen. What do you think that is? Well, do you remember, I intended to bring it up, but I don't have it all ready to show you, so I'll just do it off the top of my head. Remember, Jason Meeks had a dream. And the more we see things move along, the more this dream, in my opinion, appears to be right on and one of the most important ones out there. He saw that, first of all, there was a financial change. Boom, one. Then he saw President Trump made president. wait a minute, he's already president. Yes, he's president of the all capital United States of America. But if there were a new constitution, a new government set up called the United States, the Republic of the United States, that's the new name, the Republic of the United States, who would be the president? Well, that would be Trump. Okay, so that fits. Then he also saw massive arrests. And when he saw massive arrests, he saw rejoicing in the streets. Then he saw a suitcase nuke go off. I want to believe that suitcase nuke doesn't go off for another 6 months after that, because Pastor Massey was shown a dream that once that I have to choose my words carefully here. That once the new currency system comes in, that we should get our money out of that currency system within 6 months. And he was told gold, silver, land, and I will also add, or Israeli oil wells. Do you remember? Benjamin Fulford was told that this is the evil, that we've ruled this planet for thousands of years, and we'll destroy it rather than give it up. Now, does it make sense to you that this is the day that the financial system comes in, the massive arrests begin, the old all-capital United States of America and its Constitution are gone, President Trump is made president of the new, quote, Republic of the United States, massive arrests start, rejoicing in the streets, and then hopefully 6 months later, suitcase nukes. Hopefully we have even more than 6 months. But I will say Pastor Massey kept asking the Lord, please, Lord, give us more than 6 months. And finally the Lord told him, no, you only get 6 months. Don't ask again. So, what's going on? Well, truth is, I don't know. God has not told me. But if I had to bet, based upon all of the prophecies we've had at the Prophecy Club, bingo. He says October 15th, but I'm going to lengthen it. I'm going to say just sometime this year is a very good, I'm going to say, I'm just guessing, okay? God has not told me. I'm not making a prophecy here. I'm going to guess 50%. A 50% chance by the end of the year, and I believe it so much that I've started learning Hebrew, learning to read and speak Hebrew, because I think I'm going to be going to Israel here pretty soon. Now, let's go on to the next thing, further confirmation. Now, this is just another article about the same guy and the same event, but let me read it. Former CIA officer Buck Sexton reveals a new blueprint for U.S. power. New interview details the potential Golden Dome defense, new executive orders, and America's fight to lead the future. September 16th also. In the newly released interview former CIA officer details sweeping plan to restore America's global leadership through artificial superintelligence. This is going to be truly unprecedented. I believe Trump is getting ready to issue a package, listen carefully, of new AI executive orders, setting our economy on a 40-year bull run. Now, here he's talking about AI. That didn't say anything about a new digital currency there. Unlike previous initiatives, what Buck is calling Manhattan 2 could reach across defense industry, technology, uniting government, private companies in a push to secure U.S. dominance for the century ahead, or the image of the beast and the mark of the beast system, in my opinion. Further confirmation. 79 days, the fastest debt spiral in history, subprime auto loans wiping bonds out. What's he talking about? We are being plundered. On July the 2nd, 2025, the U.S. national debt was $36.2 trillion, but yesterday, September 19th, it touched $37.5, up $1.3 trillion in 79 days. Prior to this 3-month period, the U.S. national debt rose $1 trillion in 90 days. Before that, the U.S. debt rose $1 trillion in 113 days, meaning the pattern, 113 days down to 90 days, down to 79 days, meaning we're running out of time. Meaning that something has got to be done about our national debt. Now, is that digital currency? Is that revaluing gold and silver? Does that mean that silver's about to skyrocket? There you go. 800-200 gold, 800-200 gold, or prophecyclubgold.com. Go check it out. The government is spending itself and us into oblivion. Worse, mathematically, there is no way to stop the debt spiral before it completely collapses the entire system. We are in the end stages of the fiat money printing system. Let me read that again. Mathematically, there's no way to stop us from hitting bottom, if you want to put it that way. In other words, we're going to hit bottom very soon, and there's no way to stop, or there's no way to hold up this fiat money printing system. Do you think Trump knows that? Yep. Do you think people in his administration know that? Yep. Do you think the devil knows that? Yep. Do you think the devil's happy about that? Very happy. Could it be that Trump has known about this day, planned for it for many years, and has a solution? I think so. So when the collapse happens, there won't be any Social Security payments, no Medicare, but okay, he's going to say in other places he's going to take care of those. But remember, Shane Warren was told we want to give us our entitlements. What's an entitlement? That's a check from the government they think they're supposed to be getting, they're not getting. Could that be part of the new system coming in? Could be. And what was it that's going to blow up that system? That was when Saudi Arabia starts selling oil in another currency other than the dollar. And I've got an article at the end of this saying that ended June 9th of 2024. And they've been selling it for all kinds of prices, all kinds of places. Now, let's go on. All of it will stop because there's no money left. I'm told the U.S. dollar lost 10% of its value in this month alone. It gets worse, much worse. Now, I remember in the year 1999, I was interviewing somebody about gold, and I remember the price of gold was like $205 or something like that an ounce. And now it just hit a little over $3,600 an ounce. Now, understand the price of gold doesn't go up or it doesn't go down. The price of gold is a money standard. So if gold doesn't go up, then what is going down? That would be the dollar. In other words, the value of the dollar since the year 2000 has dropped from $200 an ounce down to $3,600 an ounce. I haven't figured that out, but that's substantial. What they're saying is that there's how do I say this? That there's a we're running out of money and the debt is climbing up, and those two lines are about to hit. And they say it's going to happen, well, you figured it, 113 days, 90 days, 79 days, 30 days, 60 days, I don't know, soon. Now, let's go on to the next one. Mega Black Swan Event, likely in October. A huge Black Swan event of historical proportions is looking likely for October. Okay, this is another person saying the same thing. Already massive and often violent protests in the West make it probable that it will be some sort of revolution. There is also a high possibility of a collapse of the financial system. Bingo. Israel and the United States are likely to survive the event in their current form. Now, I put this into gray because not everybody is a prophecy student. Not everybody has our insight. And not everybody knows when to throw a piece of garbage away. Sometimes they don't recognize that as garbage. That's garbage, so I'm going to skip it. Then let's go to the next highlighted area. There's also a high probability of a collapse of the financial system. Okay, I read that. Let me skip on down. They may well overthrow the Babylonian debt slavery system of government in the West. The U.S. government will finally be forced to declare bankruptcy as its fiscal year ends on September the 30th. U.S. Donald Trump himself says the government could shut down on October 1st. Could be. Now, what do we do about it? Hang on. I'm not giving financial advice. Now, let me cover some of the garbage he says. Again, I don't agree with everything he says. Like, for example, he doesn't like Israel. So the gray part I'm going to skip because that's garbage. However, before we get there, there's going to be a severe turbulence as old system collapses. We understand that. That's why we have gold and silver and maybe some crypto and a whole lot of supplies, wheat, water filters, all sorts of things. Anyway, let's go on. First of all, my U.S. military intelligence sources say the entire event is fake and Kirk is alive. This is garbage. And well, in a year, I intended to put this gray. That's garbage. Garbage, garbage, garbage. And okay, now since I said that, I may as well give you something else. We prophecy students must guard our belief system. We can't just believe everything that comes along. And we prophecy students tend to jump on a conspiracy theory faster than someone else in the world. Don't necessarily believe every conspiracy theory that comes along. This is a good example. They say Kirk is alive. That's garbage. That's garbage. There's so much garbage out there. I'm just telling you, be cautious. Let me go on. It's another nail in the coffin of the petrodollar system, continuing what he said. In other words, I'm reading the good part and I'm skipping the bad part. It's like watermelon. Eat the watermelon, spit out the seeds, right? An agreement to price oil exclusively in U.S. dollars in exchange for U.S. protection. Saudi Arabia is now much more flexible in pricing oil in any currency it wants, meaning that's the sign Shane Warren was told back in 2010 to watch for that would be associated with the fall of the dollar. Speaking about nails in the petrodollar system, last week, Africa just announced a divorce from the Western financial system and internet systems. The Africans have also divorced themselves from Rothschild-controlled central banks and have set up their own payment system. What do you call that? You call that BRICS. Other countries like India, Vietnam are doing the same. Russia and China have also gone along, meaning there's a lot of signs saying our dollar's in trouble. And it could very well be that this big change, financial change, throwing away our Constitution, throwing away the all-capital United States of America. Let me say something about that. Look, I like the Constitution as much as you do. But I also understand that the Constitution was set up to keep evil people in high places with a lot of money, the Illuminati, from taking over and controlling the people. But there's also segments of it and a lot of other laws that allows the devil to hide behind them. So I could see that throwing away the Constitution, throwing away our entire law system, and briefly, hopefully briefly, handing it over to Donald Trump, that's a righteous man, hopefully, to do the right thing, hopefully, and give him a chance to sweep and clean house. Because there's so many laws that the devil can hide behind, so many protections that allows him to continue in our nation. So I can see where having a short period of time, hopefully short, to allow our nation the time to repent and clean itself is a good thing. However, Jeremiah 51, I forget the exact scripture, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. I think the massive arrests and what is about to happen is God's attempt to give us a chance to heal and to cleanse ourselves. But, like Dana Coverstone was told, a nation that's divided against itself shall not stand. Remember, it said shall, emphasized shall. That nation shall not stand. So, as Dmitry was told, it will be started by the communists. So what happens, in my opinion, the internal revolution starts, the dollar crashes, they're switching it from coins and paper over to digital. There'll be a brief time of great prosperity for some. Some, it will be devastating. As a result of that, we go into a global digital system, which will briefly be good, but then turn bad. Just like Hollywood, it started off good and then turned bad. Like everything else the devil touches. So I can see very possibly by the end of the year, a lot of this stuff we've been talking about comes into place. Now, let's go on. I've got other things. So 3 of these different people say that they see top one here, silver going to $500 and gold going to $20,000 an ounce. And I think it's all 3 of them say that. I definitely know. Thank you, by the way, for your emails. Someone sent me an email. This guy says gold's going to $20,000 an ounce. Another one says it's going to $10,000 an ounce, and I got a lot of good reasons for it. Now, my point is, I don't know if it is, but it does fit with the scenario, doesn't it? Now it gets even more scary. Economic Times, September 8th, 25. Anton Kobiakov, a Putin advisor, alleges the U.S. is manipulating cryptocurrency and gold markets. In other words, what they're saying is Trump is going to use the crypto and the change of the price of gold, which fits with what the other guys are saying, probably, I don't know, probably raising the price of gold, 10,000, I don't know, 20,000, I don't know what they're going to do, possibly, and I'm not giving financial advice here. Cryptocurrency and gold markets to what? Alleviate the $35 trillion national debt. This is the Russians warning that the U.S. is about to throw off all of its $37 trillion debt, and Trump is going to throw it off on the shoulders of all of the rest of the world, and the Russians don't like it. Well, here's my opinion on that. That debt that America has on its back was, to a large degree, put there because we've been trying to help the other 198 nations. So it does make a little sense to me that at least a little of it ought to be thrown back on their backs. In other words, to wipe out America's debt, revalue gold, come into a cryptocurrency, and throw that debt off onto the rest of the world and start an entirely new system. And that is the scuttlebutt on the internet, what the plan is. Let me go on. He claims Washington aims to rewrite the rules. In other words, wipe the slate clean. All the debt's gone. To position these assets as alternatives to the traditional currency system, wiping the dollar out. Addressing declining trust in the dollar, Kobiakov warns the strategy could destabilize global finance. It could. And eventually it will. But it also could bring a great boom. Briefly. Let me go on and read the rest of it. A senior Russian advisor to President Putin has alleged the United States is orchestrating a scheme to offload its $35 trillion national debt by leveraging cryptocurrency and gold. Kobio stated that Washington intends to rewrite the rules of these markets, position them as alternatives to the traditional global currency system, meaning the dollar. He gave these remarks during an economic forum, which was held in Vladivostok, Russia, with the purpose of encouraging foreign investment in the Russian Far East. See, the Russians, those pretty smart guys, okay? Who wins most of the chess tournaments every year? It would be the Russians. Now, again, we don't give financial advice, but I'm continuing on with the article. The U.S. is now trying to rewrite the rules of gold and cryptocurrency markets. Remember the size of the debt, $35 trillion. These 2 sectors are essentially alternatives to the traditional global currency system, meaning a new system, just what we've been talking about. U.S. plans to convert a portion of this national debt into stable coins, thereby devaluing and effectively starting from scratch, in other words, wiping out all of the dollar's debt. Now, tie this in with AI. I made a two-hour talk at the PhD conference saying that all the dangers of PI, and frankly, people were shocked. They didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. And I'm going to say, if you haven't watched that talk, and by the way, you can watch it by going to watchprophecyclub.com. Watchprophecyclub.com. Okay, watchprophecyclub.com. You can watch the whole PhD conference up there. $200 a year, $20 a month. It's a great deal. Watch 300 DVDs, or excuse me. Yeah, that's right, 300 DVDs by about 160 different speakers. Anyway, let's go on. AI dangers. I'm going to play for you a clip of the United States military throwing a drone away. Why? Because it was AI controlled. And once they put it up in the air, it started doing things all by itself.
The U.S. Navy built an AI drone so smart that they had to kill it. In 2013, the X-47B took off from the USS Theodore Roosevelt without any human control. This military killing machine was thinking for itself, making its own decisions about where to land, even on a moving carrier deck at 150 miles per hour. On a test flight, it did something nobody ever thought would be possible. The X-47B approached a tanker aircraft and refueled itself in midair. During this shocking moment, Pentagon officials realized this artificial intelligence could keep itself alive. They hadn't just created a weapon, they had made a predator that could kill without asking for permission. But this was extremely scary for the world. After spending $1.4 billion creating this killing robot, they made the decision in 2015 to kill their own creation out of fear of what could go wrong.
If you want to be on the end of making money, gold and silver is preserving your money. If you want to be on the end of making money, then you might want to call prophecyclubcrypto.com, or actually go to it, or call that number in the bottom right corner. Ask them about crypto if you're in the position where you can make money. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. When the suitcase nukes, I didn't say if, I said when the suitcase nukes go off, if you want your car to start, if you want your computers and your refrigerators and things like that, anything with a computer chip to work, you want to have one of these from EMPShield.com. EMPShield.com. And they have videos up there. It takes about 10 minutes to put on. It's not complicated at all. And if you use the word prophecy, promo code prophecy, you get a $50 discount, and it helps your prophecy class.